Hi everyone, I am Sujani, faculty in physics at Institute of Aeronautical Engineering. Today we are going to discuss a few demonstrations of the experiments that we are going to see in the physics laboratory. Before going into demonstrations, let us see the objective of this course. Physics laboratory. It is to lay a strong foundation in physics that forms a basis to various branches of engineering. And I strongly believe in the quote, I hear and I forget, I see and I remember, I do and I understand. All the experiments that we are going to do are now based on this theme, I do and I understand. All the experiments that you perform in the laboratory will help you to understand the principles underlying various phenomena, and that will help you to solve complex engineering problems at a later stage. So what you are going to do in the laboratory? You will perform experiments to correlate theory with the experimental data, and you will analyze the results using graphical representations and present them as a part of a clear, well-organized lab report. At the end of the course, you will be able to demonstrate a working knowledge of the fundamentals of physics. Now, to do any experiment, you need to follow certain steps. So let us see the brief outline of how we are going to discuss about the experiment. The first thing, whenever you do an experiment, you need to know the aim of the experiment. What is the aim behind doing the experiment? And then the apparatus that is required to do the experiment. Then the theory. What is the theory behind? Suppose if you are trying to prove Ohm's law, what does Ohm's law say? You need to understand the theory and then the formula related to it or the principle. Then, if there are any circuit diagrams, you should know the circuit diagrams or the experimental setup. Then the procedure to follow, how to make the connections or how to do the setup and take the readings. Next, you need an observation table to tabulate the readings that you have noted down. And then calculations. You will have a graph. As I told you, to analyze the results, sometimes you need graphical representation. So we need the graph. And finally, you will project your result. And of course, there will be a Viva voice at the end where you will have to answer the questions based on the experiment you are doing to clearly understand the experiment. Now, let us start with Melday's experiment. So, aim of this experiment is to determine the frequency of a given tuning fork using Melday's apparatus. We are going to determine the frequency of a given tuning fork using Melday's apparatus. So, let us first understand the terms frequency, what is a tuning fork, and how a Melday's apparatus can be used. So, the definition for frequency. The number of vibrations made by an object per second. We call it as frequency. Sometimes we say the number of cycles per second is also frequency. Now, what is a tuning fork? You can see the figure here. It is a metal object usually made up of steel with two long prongs. These are called prongs. These two long ones are called prongs. And they are attached to a stem. This is the stem. And when you vibrate this tuning fork with a rubber hammer, these prongs, they vibrate about their mean position. They just vibrate about the mean position and they will create sounds of a specific frequency. This tuning fork the frequency of it will be mentioned by the manufacturer on this. Say this is a tuning fork of frequency 512 Hertz. So this can be used to create sounds of this particular frequency. The specific frequency here is 512, means these prongs will oscillate or vibrate 512 times per second. Now how they are going to vibrate, you can see the vibration mechanism is very simple. They are producing a single frequency sound. So as per the tuning fork we have selected, so the prongs vibrate, these prongs vibrate about their mean position, and you can see the waves that are generated and propagated here. Because it is air, you assume, so the waves are being propagated in the air. Now, if you place an identical tuning fork nearby, suppose this is the tuning fork which is vibrating now, we are placing one more tuning fork very near to it. This is the vibrating tuning fork and we are bringing an identical tuning fork. The identical is very important here. If it is identical in frequency, then you can transmit the sound energy without contact. That is what we are going to understand in this experiment. See, here you vibrate the tuning fork, and because these two have the same resonant frequency, if the first tuning fork creates some sound, this serves as a driving force and causes the other tuning fork to vibrate and resonate at the same pitch or frequency. Now, how do you apply this principle of resonance? We call it as resonance. What is resonance? When you have an object which is vibrating with its own natural frequency and you apply some external frequency, and if the external frequency matches with the natural frequency, then they vibrate with a larger amplitude. That phenomenon we are calling it as resonance. Now, when two systems resonate at the same frequency, you can transfer energy and information wirelessly. That is, without touching or contact over a great distance, without touching them or without any contact, which we are calling it as wireless. In a wireless manner, we are going to transfer the energy using the principle of resonance. That is what we will understand using this experiment. Now, where do you use this? Let us see one real life example. When we turn the knob of the radio, the traditional radios which we used to have, where we have a knob to tune the frequency. So when we used to tune or turn the knob of the radio, we are tuning it to our favorite channel. That means we are changing the natural frequency of the receiver. The natural frequency of the receiver then matches with the transmission frequency of the radio station. The radio station is transmitting some frequency, and if you are tuning your radio to that particular frequency, and when the two frequencies match, energy transfer occurs and we can listen to the selected channel. That is how communication, radio communication is happening. Now, radios are more complicated. You have lot of circuits, antenna and all those things. But the principle behind is the same. Here, instead of tuning forks, they have circuits. But for teaching purposes, if I have to teach you the purpose of resonance, then we use the tuning fork as a metaphor because it is easier to grasp. Because you can view and you can understand the principle when you view it clearly, how the sound that is produced by one object is communicated to the second object wirelessly, and the second object tunes to it and vibrates with the same frequency. Now, if you see the applications, without resonance, we would not have had radio, television, mobile phones, GPS, clocks, musical instruments, lasers, MRI, and of course, even medicine, energy medicine and PEFF, PEMF, that is pulsed electromagnetic field therapy. All these are dependent on the principle of resonance. Now let us talk about this Meldy's apparatus. Meldy is the name of the scientist who gave the apparatus to view the waves using a tuning fork. So it is a scientific experiment carried out in the year 1859 by the German physicist Meldy on standing waves. Waves are produced in a tense cable, a cable which is kept under tension, and then it is set into oscillations with the help of a tuning fork. And he attempted to demonstrate that mechanical waves undergo interference phenomena, because till then it was believed that only light waves undergo interference phenomena or exhibit interference phenomena, but he tried to prove that even mechanical waves undergo interference phenomena. Now in the experiment, mechanical waves traveled in opposite direction from two immobile points. Immobile points means the points which do not move, and we call them as nodes. And these waves are called as standing waves by Meldy. Why he called them as standing waves is because they remain static. They are static. Now, since the position of the nodes and the lobes are static, he called them as standing waves. So, standing waves were first discovered by Franz Meldy, who coined the term standing wave. He was the first one who gave us this term, standing wave, in the year 1860. Now let us look at the apparatus that is required to do our experiment. The first is the electrically maintained tuning fork. So you can see the tuning fork here. This is the tuning fork. These are the prongs and this is the stem. And this tuning fork is electrically maintained. We have an electromagnet here. This is the electromagnet with a contact screw and a power supply. So when we switch on the power supply and adjust the contact screw such that this electromagnet, because of this, these prongs will start vibrating. So we call it as electrically maintained tuning fork. Then we have the power supply. This is the setup for the power supply. Then a lightweight string. This string which you are taking should be light in weight. And a lightweight pan. This pan that is attached here is also lightweight. And then a weight box to keep the weights, because we need to create tension in the string. To create tension in the string, we keep on adding masses to the pan. So the tension in the string will be due to the mass as well as the mass of the pan. So we need a weight box. Then a stand with a clamp and a pulley. We need this is the pulley here. This is the pulley. We need a stamp. If you have to put it on a table, we need a clamp also. And an analytical balance. This balance is to measure the mass of the string, the mass of the pan. We will measure using analytical balance. Now, what is the theory behind? When a string under tension is set into vibrations, transverse harmonic waves propagate along its length. So you will take a string, you will put some tension in the string and just vibrate either mechanically or electrically. Then vibrations, harmonic waves are produced in the string and they propagate along the length. And the speed of the wave in the stretched string, now we call it as stretched string, depends on the tension in the string. This is string and the mass per unit length of the string. So here mass per unit length is important. So the velocity, here V is the velocity. Velocity depends upon T, the tension in the string. And M, the mass per unit length. Small m here is the mass per unit length, or we also call it as linear density. This is called linear density. Now, the frequency of the wave, once you get the velocity, you can find the frequency of the wave using n is equal to 1 by 2L under root T by M, where T and M are the same tension and the mass per unit length, and L here stands for the length of the loop length of the loop that is formed. Now, when the string is set into vibrations by means of electrically maintained tuning fork, the other end of the string is clamped to the rigid support as we have seen in the apparatus. The waves will get reflected back. Suppose we are clamping it here at this end. If this is the wave that is coming forward, because it is clamped at this end, this wave will get reflected backward. So if this is the forward wave, this is the forward wave which is going, incident wave we call, this wave will get reflected back like this. So we call this as the reflected wave. Now the incident and the reflected waves will superimpose to produce transverse stationary waves. So the word stationary waves is very important here because the waves are not propagating forward. They are limited to this region now. So the energy is also limited to this particular region. So these are the standing waves. And the string will vibrate in such a way that at the clamped points we have the nodes. So I said it is clamped here, it is clamped here. So at the clamped end we have a node. Here also you have a node. And in between two nodes, these are also nodes. In between two nodes we have antinodes. You need to understand what are nodes and antinodes. Nodes are points where the displacement is minimum. You see here the displacement is minimum, 0 we can say. At all these nodes, the displacement of the particles is minimum. You call them as nodes. And the points where the displacement is maximum, you can see the displacement of the particles is maximum here and you call them as antinodes. So you have a series of node, antinode, and so on. So till the clamped point, you have a series of nodes and antinodes and we call them as stationary waves because they are limited to a certain region and the energy is also limited in this particular region. Now, we will be doing the demonstration in two different modes. We will try to find the frequency of the tuning fork in two different modes, the longitudinal mode as well as the transverse mode. So, let us understand what a longitudinal wave is and what a transverse wave is. Suppose if you see here, if this is the string you have, when we vibrate, you can see how the particles are vibrating. So you can observe how the particles vibrate. They are just vibrating. If this is the direction of the propagation of the wave is moving forward like this and the particles are moving like this. How? They are vibrating parallel to the direction of propagation of the wave. This is the direction of propagation of the wave and the particles of the medium, that is the string. The medium is the string here through which the wave is moving. So the particles are vibrating parallel to the direction of propagation of the wave. Then you call it as a longitudinal wave. Now coming to transverse. In transverse, how are the particles vibrating? They are vibrating perpendicular. Perpendicular to the direction of motion of the wave. The motion of the wave is forward in this direction. This is the direction of the motion of the wave. How are the particles vibrating? They are vibrating perpendicular. So when the particles vibrate perpendicular to the direction of motion of the wave, we call it as transverse wave. And when the particles vibrate longitudinal, parallel to the direction of motion of the wave, we call it as a longitudinal wave. So we are going to do the experiment in both the modes, the longitudinal mode and also the transverse mode. Now how does a longitudinal wave look like? So when the particles are vibrating parallel and the wave is moving forward, so this is how the wave looks like, the particles of the medium. Now vibrate like this and the wave is propagating forward. What about a transverse wave? So because the particles vibrate perpendicular to the direction of the motion, so the wave is like this. So you can visualize the longitudinal wave as well as the transverse wave. Now let us do the experimental setup for transverse mode. So how do we set up to get transverse waves? In this arrangement, the vibrations of the prongs of the tuning fork are in the direction perpendicular to the length of the string. If the prongs can vibrate perpendicular, these are the prongs, this is one prong and this is other prong. I told you they vibrate about their mean position. So if they are vibrating like this perpendicular to the length of the string, this is the lengthwise string. If the prongs can vibrate perpendicular to the length of the string, then we have set it up in transverse mode of vibration. How do you remember it? If you can remember, you can also think that the tuning fork is placed parallel to the length of the string. Then you say it is transverse mode. When you place it parallel, what is happening? The prongs vibrate perpendicular to the length of the string. Therefore, the particles of the medium vibrate perpendicular. So then you call it a transverse wave. Now in transverse wave, what happens? The string, by the time the tuning fork completes one vibration, the string also completes one vibration. Because of the vibrations of the tuning fork, the waves are passing through the string. The string is also vibrating, and by the time the tuning fork completes one vibration means one to and fro motion like this. This is one complete vibration. So by the time the tuning fork completes one vibration, the string also completes one complete oscillation. So the frequency of the tuning fork is equal to the frequency of the string. The frequency of the tuning fork is equal to the frequency of the string. This is the point you have to remember in transverse mode. That is why we have N. N here stands for the frequency of the tuning fork is given by 1 upon 2L under root T by M. So N here is the frequency of the tuning fork, L the length of the loop, T the tension in the string, and M here is the mass per unit length. This formula is very important because you will be using this formula after taking the readings. You will have to use this formula to calculate the frequency of the tuning fork. Now coming to the longitudinal mode. How do we set up in longitudinal mode? The tuning fork is set in such a manner that the prongs are parallel to the length of the string, or the prongs are vibrate. See here, we have, this is the tuning fork. Now, these prongs, they have to vibrate parallel to the length of the string. So, when they vibrate parallel to the vibrations or to the propagation of the wave, then we get longitudinal waves. For that, how we are putting the prongs or the tuning fork is set perpendicular to the length of the string. The prongs vibrate parallel, but the tuning fork, the position of the tuning fork is perpendicular to the length of the string. So in this case, we get longitudinal mode of vibration. Now in longitudinal mode, what happens? The string completes half the vibration when the tuning fork completes one. That is the difference between longitudinal and transverse. By the time the tuning fork completes one vibration, the string is completing only half the vibration. Therefore, what we have here, the frequency of the tuning fork is equal to twice the frequency of the string. So, capital N here will be equal to 2N. And for us, N is what? 1 by 2L under root T by M. This is the frequency. So 2N means 2 into 1 by 2L under root 2 by M. So 2 gets cancelled. So therefore we have the formula N is equal to 1 by L under root T by M. So in longitudinal mode, capital N, that is the frequency of the tuning fork, is given by 1 by L under root T by M. T is the tension and M is the mass per unit length or the linear density. So this is the formula we'll be using to calculate for the frequency in longitudinal mode. Now, before starting the experiment, you need to note down certain observations. Before you start doing the experiment, you have to note down all these observations. The mass of the pan, you can measure using the analytical balance. Say here, whatever we are using here in the lab is around 21 grams. The length of the string, we are taking a string usually of length 100 centimeters, and we will measure the mass of the string also using analytical balance. It is around 0.94 grams. Now we can calculate the mass per unit length or linear density. Mass per unit length is given by total mass upon total length. So what is the mass of the string we got? 0.94. And what is the total length? So small m is equal to mass of the string upon total length of the string. So 0.94 upon 100. So it is 0.0094. So this we call as the linear density, which is constant throughout because we are not changing the string. So the linear density remains constant. It is 0.0094 grams per centimeter. Now the acceleration due to gravity G is 980 dyne per centimeter square because we are using all the other quantities in CGS system, the centimeter gram second system. So we will have to take the value of G, that is acceleration due to gravity, also in CGS system. So that is 980 dyne per centimeter square. So all these things are to be noted before you start the experiment. Now let us see the demo of the experiment, actual demo. Let us now see the demo of Meldy's experiment. The aim of this experiment is to determine the frequency of a given tuning fork using Meldy's apparatus. In the apparatus, we have a tuning fork which is electrically maintained with the help of an electromagnet, a contact screw and a power supply. We have a string which is usually 1 meter long tied to one end of the tuning fork, and we have a stand with a clamp to clamp it to the table and a pulley over which the thread passes, and there is a lightweight fan attached at the other end. We also have weights where we add weights to the pan. The tension in the string varies. To create tension in the string, we keep on adding weights. Also, to measure the length of the waves or the loops that are formed, we use the meter tape or a meter scale. And before starting the experiment, we need to measure the mass of the thread as well as the mass of the pan. For that, we use an analytical balance to measure the mass. Now let us start with the procedure of how to do the experiment. As discussed in the theory, we are going to do it in two different modes, the transverse mode and the longitudinal mode. In transverse mode, the particles of the medium vibrate perpendicular to the propagation of the wave. So, we need to set the tuning fork in such a way that the prongs of the tuning fork vibrate perpendicular to the motion of the wave. So, now we place the prongs parallel to the thread so that the prongs vibrate perpendicular to the direction of motion of the wave. So, this is the setup or the position of the tuning fork to get transverse waves. Now, let us add some weight to the fan, say 5 grams. Now, there is some tension in the string. The tension in the string is due to the mass that is added plus the mass of the fan. Now, let us switch on the power supply and adjust the contact screw such that the waves are seen in the string. So, as the prongs vibrate, because of the vibration of the prongs, the waves that are produced travel through the string. The wave that is going forward will reflect backwards because it is clamped at one end. So the reflected wave will superimpose on the incident wave and we get stationary waves. you can see clear, well-defined loops that are formed. What you need to understand here is, in a stationary wave, the energy is limited to this region, and you have nodes and antinodes that are formed. Nodes are the positions where the displacement of the particle is minimum, and these are the antinodes. These are the antinodes where the displacement of the particle is maximum. Now, these waves, they follow the rules or the laws of stretched strings. Means, according to the tension that is applied and the length of the loop, we can calculate the frequency of vibration of the string. Now, to calculate the length of each loop, we use this meter tape. Or the other way is to measure the total length from end to end, from one node to the last node, you measure the length d. This gives the distance from one end to the other end, and count the number of loops. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So let the number of loops be x, that is 7. Now we get the length of each loop by dividing the total length by the number of loops. We get the length of each loop. Now we repeat the experiment by adding more weights. So let us add more weight, say 5 grams more. So as we add weight, the number of loops also vary. You can see as the tension in the string increases, the number of loops also varies. Now you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 loops are formed. Again, repeat the same procedure. Measure the total length and also count the number of loops. That gives the length of each loop. Yes, now let us quickly recapitulate the procedure. How we have seen the demo. Set up the tuning fork in the transverse mode, means we have done the experiment in the transverse mode. So set up the tuning fork in the transverse mode means the prongs have to vibrate perpendicular to the direction of motion of the wave. Then we have adjusted the pulley to be in line with the tuning fork. The tuning fork and the pulley have to be along the same line. Then we will put some load in the pan. Say we have put initially 5 grams. So we have put the load. So attached to the string. Now excite the tuning fork with the help of the power supply. By adjusting the contact screw, switch on the power supply, adjust the contact screw, and we are exciting the tuning fork so that the prongs of the tuning fork vibrate. Then adjust the applied voltage. We have to adjust the voltage because we need well-defined loops. In stationary waves, we need well-defined loops. Means the nodes and the antinodes are to be clearly well-defined. Then we count the number of loops for a given weight. What are the number of loops we are getting and what is the length? Length between the clamped end and the other clamped end, or the length between all the loops. Okay. Now vary the tension in the string. Once you do the experiment, say with 5 grams, you are varying the tension in steps of 5 grams, 10 gram, 15 gram, 20 and so on. So you are varying the tension in the string by adding weights in the pan slowly and gradually. You will vary the tension. Then how do you calculate the tension in the string? Tension here is M plus P. M is the mass that is added to the pan and P is the mass of the pan, because at the end, whatever string we have a pan and also a mass that we have put in the pan. So the total tension in the string will be due to the mass of we have put in the pan and also the mass of the pan multiplied by g, which is acceleration due to gravity. Now, we can repeat the same steps even in longitudinal mode. If we have done already for the transverse mode, we will also repeat the same steps for longitudinal mode of vibration. Now, how do we tabulate the readings? The first reading we have put 5 grams. Then what is the tension? We will calculate using M plus P into G. 5 and P here is the mass of the pan 21. So 5 plus 21, 26 into 980 will give us 25480. So how do we calculate the tension T? Here 5 plus 21 is the mass of the pan into 980. So that gives us 25480 tension. Okay, the tension is in Dine-CGS system we are following. Now, what are the number of loops that are formed? 6 loops are formed. And the total length of the loops is 82. But we want the length of each loop. So, you can calculate the length of each loop using the formula D by X. Total length divided by the number of loops. L here is equal to D by X. So, D here is 82 divided by 6 will give us the length of each loop. So once you get the length, you can calculate the frequency. So NT here denotes the frequency in transverse mode, that is 1 by 2L under root T by M. Anyhow, I'll be showing you the one sample calculation. So like this, you will repeat for different grams, 10 grams, 15, 20. So as the mass added varies, the tension in the string varies. If the tension varies, the number of loops varies. So note down the corresponding length and find the length of each loop and calculate the value of NT. So how we are going to do the calculations? I'll just show you one sample calculation. Here the formula is NT is equal to 1 by 2L under root T by M. What is the mass we have put initially? 5 grams. The mass of the pan is 21. So we got the tension T as M plus P into G. So this is 5 plus 21 into 980. So this is giving us 25480 dynes. So this is dynes. Okay. Now we are seeing that the number of loops that are formed is X and the total distance is 82. So from these two we can get the length as D upon X as 82 by 6. So that gives us 13.6 centimeter. Now how do we get the frequency? In the transverse mode, NT, or I can write it as capital N, frequency of the tuning fork, capital NT is equal to, in transverse mode it doesn't matter because the frequency of the wave is equal to the frequency of the tuning fork. So I can write capital N, T in the transverse mode is equal to 1 upon 2 into L we got as 13.6. So 13.6 under root. What is the value of T? 25480 upon the mass per unit length we have calculated. So small m is equal to capital M upon L. Capital M is 0.94, mass of the thread, upon length is 100. So we have got 0.0094. This is the linear density or the mass per unit length. So grams per centimeter. So we will put this value here 0.0094. So when you simplify, you get the value as 60.5 Hertz. Frequency is measured in per second or the unit is Hertz. So this is how we do the calculation. Once you know the value, the tension, and you know the length of the loop, because M is constant throughout the experiment because we are not changing the thread, you can find the frequency using different mass. You can keep on varying the mass and then do the calculation. So for different masses, you will calculate the readings and you will get the average. Average of all the readings will give you the frequency of the tuning fork N. The frequency of the tuning fork is 60.2. This is of course in the transverse mode. You can repeat the same for longitudinal mode also. Now let us see the arrangement for longitudinal mode of vibration. That is, how do we get longitudinal waves? We set the tuning fork perpendicular to the thread, means the prongs of the tuning fork vibrate parallel to the direction of motion of the wave. So when the prongs vibrate parallel, the particles of the medium also vibrate parallel to the direction of motion of the wave. So in a similar way we have done for transverse waves. We will add some weight, say 5 grams to the pan and switch on the power supply. Adjust the contact screw. So that we get well-defined loops. You can see the loops that are formed 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 clear, well-defined loops are formed and we are calling them as standing waves. These positions where the displacement is minimum we are calling as nodes, and again these are antinodes. So in standing wave we have a series of nodes and antinodes. Now what we have to do is to measure the length of each loop. Again we need to measure the length of each loop. Otherwise we measure the total length D and also measure the number of loops for the total distance D divided by the number of loops X gives us the length of each loop. So note down the mass added to the pan and also note down the length and the number of loops. You can substitute in the tabular column and do the calculation. So once you do this, you can keep on adding weights, increase weights. Say in 5 grams, we have added 5 more grams so that the number of loops vary. And repeat the experiment for different weights. 4 to 5 different weights you can repeat the same experiment and tabulate the readings. Only thing here is the formula differs. The procedure is the same. You will first add 5 grams and the tension will be the same because 5 plus 21 into 980 will give you 25480. But here the number of loops differs. So the number of loops are 3 for this. So the length of each loop is 27.4. So when you substitute here and find, you will get the frequency as 60. So whether you do it in the longitudinal mode or the transverse mode, the frequency of the tuning fork remains the same. We are not changing the tuning fork. Only here is the formula changes because the number of vibrations are varying. So whatever you get here for all the readings, you have to take the average and write it in the result as the frequency of the tuning fork in the longitudinal mode is given by 60.05. Whatever reading you get, you will have to mention. Now let us see the precautions that we have to do the experiment. The thread should be uniform and inextensible. Means whatever string or the thread you are taking, the thickness should be uniform throughout. You cannot have a string with unequal thickness. Okay, and it should be inextensible. It cannot just stretch like a rubber band. It cannot stretch. That is inextensible. Then the loop should be well defined. When you are vibrating with the help of the electromagnet, the waves that are produced and the loops that are formed should be well defined. You should be able to observe the nodes and the antinodes very clearly. Only then you can measure the distance and the number of loops so that you get the length of each loop. And the friction in the pulley should be least because we are using a pulley to pass the thread and hang the pan. So this should not have any friction. If there is friction, again that will obstruct the motion of the waves. So we need to take care that we are using a pulley which is frictionless. Thank you.
Like, share and subscribe. Hit the bell icon for more updates.